The White House announced a national action plan to fight prescription drug abuse. The National Drug Policy Director calls it a serious and growing public health problem, worse, if you can believe this, than crack cocaine in the 80s and heroin in the 70s. The government says 1 out of every 5 Americans, from teenagers on up, have abused prescription drugs at some point in their lives. Joining me now is Gil Kerlikowske, the Director of White House National Drug Control Policy. Thank you so much for joining us here. Clearly, there is a big problem with prescription drug abuse. Why is it so much worse than, say, it was just 10 years ago?
Well, first of all, it's a prescription, and people don't recognize that as a prescription that it can be dangerous, that it can be addictive. It isn't something sold in a piece of tinfoil from behind a gas station, and that's one of our big educational efforts.
Why has it increased, the drug abuse increased so dramatically?
There are a couple of reasons why. One is about 12 or so years ago, it was widely understood that physicians were under-treating pain, and we've seen a significant increase in these prescriptions. Remember, in the right circumstances and used appropriately, these can be very important drugs for people that have chronic pain. The other is that young people are becoming more exposed to drugs through the medicine cabinet than they are through, for instance, smoking marijuana.
What types of drugs are we talking about here that are being abused the most?
Well, certainly in the area that I've been discussing, it's around the painkillers, the opioid painkillers. OxyContin is one that comes to mind. Vicodin is another.
Can you tell us what the department is doing about it, this national plan of action?
Well, the important part of this is that all of the agencies came together. I mean, this is what the American taxpayer expects, that regardless of bureaucracy, et cetera, that we all work together and then we try and solve a problem. So the Food and Drug Administration, Health and Human Services, we worked at it from prescribing information for physicians to how to get rid of these drugs in a safe way, to enforcement, cracking down on the so-called pill mills, which I think you've reported on in South Florida.
How do you deal with the access here? Because that is a big problem. You know, you have teenagers who can go into their parents' medicine cabinets, as you know, or their grandparents who have medications. I mean, how do you deal with that part of the problem?
There are two ways, I think, that really have made a difference. And the first is getting people to be knowledgeable about this and getting the exposure about what's in your medicine cabinet. The second is the Drug Enforcement Administration, with all of their state and local law enforcement partners, will be sponsoring a drug take-back day on April 30th. They did this about 6 months ago. They collected 121 tons of pills. We actually think that April 30th they'll be collecting more of these.
Mr. Kerlikowske, thank you so much for being here with us in the newsroom, and clearly a big problem that we have on our hands. We're looking for some solutions. I know the government's involved as well as people just on the ground who want to make a difference. So thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Thank you.